Back in February, I made a video about what guitars were currently in my guitar rack as it changes all of the time. And I thought, you know what? It's time for a revisit. So let's check out what's in my rack for August 2024. Now, first up is not technically a guitar, it is a bass guitar, and this is a custom one-off Music Man Stingray special that I made using their Stingray builder. And I built it just kind of messing around with it, and I ended up making something very similar for their their initial rollout on Instagram just to help promote it. And I ended up, after that video, kind of going back and seriously like, hey, if I was to order something, what would it look like? And this is what I ended up making. And I know that, Ernie Ball Music Man instruments all sound incredible. This particular bass, for whatever reason, I'm not totally sure, slab of wood that was chosen that day or whatever, but this thing cuts and has sustain like none of my other Stingrays do. And they all have a lot of sustain. They all sound great for recording, etc., and have been toured. However, this one just sings in a very specific way. And I love this bass and it sounds exceptional. Now, the second guitar in my rack is also a bass guitar. I know, what's with the basses, right? However, this is a very, very special bass. This is a bass guitar I have wanted ever since seeing a lot of the early Nirvana photos and videos of Chris Novoselic playing a Ripper. Now, this is a 79 Gibson Ripper, and I have gone ahead and changed out the bridge to make it a little bit more functional. The 3-point bridge is awful, to say the least. And this hip shot replacement is a direct replacement, and it sounds amazing. Adds a lot of sustain, which it already has loads of, but it adds a lot of body, snap, and sustain to my ear. And this is so 70s. This is an all maple bass. It's completely made out of maple. It's very heavy. I think it's 9.9 pounds. Very thick neck, very beefy. Just a big old slab of wood, and it sounds like it as well. There's nothing that really sounds like a Ripper. It sounds like a P bass times 100. I guess is the best way to put it. These are Bill Lawrence designed pickups. Bill Lawrence actually designed the entire bass. And yeah, this is a very, very cool bass that I use all the time. Guitar number 3 in my rack, we are sticking with the 70s Gibson maple construction. And this is my 77 Gibson RD Standard that I got in what would have been 2014. I believe, in the back of a Volkswagen bus, go figure, in the parking lot of a Guitar Center. And this kind of was really the culmination of me talking about RDs for several years on this channel. I would get asked, like, was there a dream guitar I always wanted or something like that? And I would always say the RD. I didn't even know these were a guitar until I saw a band called Choke from Canada playing them. Or the singer was playing one, and then I saw Dave Grohl with one, and I thought, oh my God, they make guitars? I'd only seen the basses, again, from Chris Novoselic from Nirvana, and I had to have one. These are the most interesting looking bodies, in my opinion. These are incredible guitars, and there's just a lot to them. They balance very well. They're very heavy, as most 70s Gibsons were, but this one in particular has a lot of sauce. It was completely original when I got it. The bridge was basically pretty rotten and disintegrated, and the tuners were also pretty much totally worn out, which is weird because the frets are completely intact. There's like 95% left on these original frets. So I don't know how that happened. Someone had really acidic hands or something like that, but this is my 77 Gibson RD Standard. So guitar number 4 is also a Gibson RD. However, this is a 77 Gibson RD Artist, and the Artist package is the top of the 3 levels of RDs. You had Standard, Custom, and Artist. This adds binding on the headstock with the inlay. You get ebony instead of rosewood for the fretboard. And you also get Moog synthesizer electronics, which were weird and honestly terrible sounding. And this was a completely original guitar when I got it. However, the frets had basically been completely played off the thing, and it was in desperate need of a fret job. And I knew that when I bought it from Chicago Music Exchange, and they gave me a really good deal on it back in, I think I got this in 2015. And I promptly, I had the electronics ripped out because they were functional. They did not sound great at all. So you have a standard pickup selector, and then you had a compressor and an expander, which was super weird. And then you had the low impedance output, or low impedance pickups, which also, it's the whole thing sounded really, really weird, and it wasn't really usable. And I wanted this as a gig guitar with my band Retropose at the time, so I had the electronics pretty much gutted and put Les Paul style electronics in it. I had hip shot locking tuners installed, and then I had stainless steel frets installed. And this is one of my favorite guitars that I own. Interestingly enough, my buddy Dan sent me this modified Seymour Duncan Invader, and someone told him, if you take an Invader and you change out the giant lugs for standard worm screws, you get kind of an interesting combination of like a Duncan distortion, but on steroids, kind of, with a little bit more low end. It sounds a little fuller, and I love this pickup. And I should have often thought about having Duncan making an official version of this. Maybe I will, I don't know. There's also a DiMarzio 30th anniversary in the neck. Guitar number 5 in my rack is a guitar that you guys just saw. This is a very recent addition to the fam. This is my very special birth year, 1980 Gibson Les Paul Standard in Tobacco Burst. And this is a pretty typical build for Norland era Gibson, right? This is a, what is this, a 2-piece top, 3-piece top? 3-piece top. And it's bursted all around. It looks amazing. It's totally original, and I really, really love it. The only thing I'm not totally in love with, now that I've played it for a few weeks, are the frets. The frets there's a lot of life left in them. However, they're like, they're basically Les Paul custom style frets. They're real low and flat. I'm like, they're okay, I guess. But this guitar is very heavy and hefty, like me, and it balances very, very well. This is a very, very good example of Norland era Les Paul. And yeah, sounds very, very beefy. There's a lot of low end in this guitar. Guitar number 6 in my guitar rack is this incredible charcoal colored stop tail PRS Tremonti. This is an incredible guitar. I recently put the new Mark Holcomb Scarlet Scourge pickups in it, and it sounds phenomenal. There's a lot of bite to this guitar, and having a stop tail Tremonti is something that I think everyone should experience at some point. If you played PRSs and you have the floating bridge versions, definitely check out a hardtail. It's just a different experience, and this guitar is incredible. This one is set up in drop C sharp, and that's a tuning I play a lot in. I don't know, I just find it very comfortable, and it's heavy, but it's still uptuned, and and not everything sounds like Kill Switch Engage in, like in drop C. And this is just a very, very great guitar. I ordered this in October, I think, November of last year, and just recently got it. It was ready, and yeah, it's a great guitar. So guitar number 7 in my guitar rack is also another PRS Tremonti hardtail. I like that charcoal one so much. I bought this one from Sweetwater like the next week, because they never have hardtails in stock ever. But this particular one is a finish that I have long wanted on a PRS. And I can't remember the name of it specifically off the top of my head. However, to me, it looked like blue jeans or something, stonewashed jeans or something. And this has a Seymour Duncan Black Winter in it. And this guitar is as good as the charcoal one that I got from them. And I love the sound and feel and the resonance of this guitar, and it records incredibly well. And I use this thing all of the time. This is absolutely one of my favorites in my rack. Guitar number 8 in my rack is a very early Ernie Ball Music Man Sabre guitar in Cobra something finish. So this particular guitar was part of a very small initial batch that was meant to be sent out to members of the press and, YouTube idiots like myself. And this was a loaner guitar that came to me for the video, and I got it, I plugged it in, and I thought, there's no way this is leaving my house. And I have played the hell out of it ever since. I ended up buying this guitar from Ernie Ball Music Man. I was like, listen, I can't send this check. I can't send this guitar back to you, but I can send you a check. This is back in, when was this? 2018 or something like that. And I love this particular example of the Sabre as well. It just has that saucy, hot, paffy goodness in these pickups, and it feels great. It's very, very stable and a real joy to just sit there and play and strum on, or, in recording situations as well. This is just a really fantastic all-around guitar. Guitar number 9 in my guitar rack is my very special Mr. Sparkle Ernie Ball Music Man Stingray RS. This was the first Stingray they built for me. This is my toured girl. She doesn't ever leave the house. She doesn't ever go in storage or anything like that. This is my original one-off custom that I basically ordered to go and do a lot of touring, and it did just that. This has been all over the world with me, and it has just been hammered on. And the sparkle covers up a lot of the dings and dents and stuff like that. But I mean, you can see, well, maybe you can't see, but all the screws are, all the finishes are worn off the screws and stuff like that from doing string changes on road cases out in the rain and stuff like that. Currently, it has a Seymour Duncan distortion in the bridge and a JB Jr. in the neck. I love this combination. This guitar still continues to sound absolutely incredible. And this is just, I don't know, this has so much sentimental value to me as well. I really did go and achieve my musical dreams with this guitar specifically. And yeah, it will be here forever. Guitar number 10 in the guitar rack is a recent addition. This is a custom order. This is a Stingray RS. However, I wanted something that was kind of evoking Jerry Cantrell's classic GNL Rampage if it didn't have any stickers on it. Like, I wanted that milky, creamy satin white, and it just turned out incredible. This guitar also sounds, this guitar is one of my best sounding guitars. It's very, very resonant, because when I have them build my guitars, I always tell them, get the wood from the reject pile for weight. Because they have a pile deemed too heavy. I don't want the wood out of that pile. And this thing is heavy. This is probably 9.5 pounds, 9.5 pounds, pretty hefty. And the flame on the back of the neck is like a combination bird's eye and flame. And yeah, it's just a really, really incredible guitar. Currently has a Duncan JB in the bridge. And last but not least, guitar number 11 in my guitar rack, we have my my custom Ernie Ball Music Man Axis Baritone Super Sport. This was basically a one-of-a-kind guitar. I saw Stevis from Fever 333, now of House of Protection, playing basically a prototype guitar that Brian Ball gave to him at the London Underground. Saw a photo of the gig and I was like, what is that? I gotta have one. And Tim from Ernie Ball Music Man was like, nope, that's a one-off experiment that Brian Ball did. And I was like, well, I'm gonna call Brian. And I basically whined until they designed the CAD program for one proper. And Steve has got one, he got a pink one, and I got this black one, and I have done some work to it. It's really dinged up. I mean, I've used all of these guitars. They're all kind of dinged up and played on, and you can see where, you know, I've made the satin kind of glossy with my fingers, and it has some Fishman Devin Townsend pickups in it. And I've done a lot of work with this guitar. I get asked about this guitar quite a bit. It's actually fairly light. This thing weighs about 7.5 pounds. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And that's it. Those are all of the guitars that are currently in my guitar rack in my studio in August 2024. What was your favorite? Leave a comment down below. Let me get out of here. You've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.